portion of the United States is now, it is an endangered species, and it's at risk of going extinct now just because of white nose syndrome. And so I just wanted to bring this up because it's not out here yet, but heavens, we've had so many meetings with state agencies and Arizona Game and Fish and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Park Service about protocol. When I go out into the field, it's not easy the way it used to be, just set up a net and use my gloves and tape. I mean, we have all these cleaning protocol. We have to wear plastic gloves over our leather gloves. All my equipment and everything has to be washed and disinfected from one night to the other. It's a lot of work, but we're trying to prevent this from happening. Unfortunately, some of the species that have been affected by white nose syndrome do occur out here. So it is a possibility, but since it likes cold, wet, caves or roost areas, we do have some of that, but we don't have that like they do in the eastern part of the U.S. So we're just hoping.
They're evidently testing some vaccine right now in some place like Tennessee or Kentucky.
Yeah. And that would be great. I mean, it's just killed so many bats.
Yeah.
It's really scary. Now, it did slow down in 2012, but it was a warm winter. And so, you know, everyone had hopes that, oh, we've got this under control or it's fading out. But it does favor those cold, wet winters. And we didn't have one last year. You know, I think we may be having, you know, have a much colder winter this year.
Any guess where it came from?
Yeah, good question. Europe, and they think that cavers brought it over from Europe.
Our equipment.
Yeah, and that's why we have to go through this very strict protocol, because you can just walk in to a cave that's affected and then use your same shoes somewhere else, and all of a sudden you've spread this fungus. So it's really scary stuff. And a lot of the Park Service and Forest Service that have caves that bats are using, let's say in New Mexico and Colorado and Montana, they're restricting cavers from going in, which is really upsetting to cavers. But you know, all these agencies are taking any kind of means they can to try to prevent this, because it would be really, really easy to be in the east and come out and go in one of these caves, and that's all it would take. So. Less than 1/2 of 1% of bats get rabies. If you don't touch them, you're not going to get rabies. They're not aggressive. If you see one on the ground, don't touch it. Oh, a little note about the white nose syndrome. We don't think it's ever going to affect the nectar bats. It's just so far, you know, touched on the insectivorous bats. It is up in Canada. You know, it is in the U.S. It's not down in Mexico yet, so we're hoping that it's not going to. Who knows? But unfortunately, a lot of these nectar bats roost with insectivorous bats. So if the insectivorous bats were affected by white nose syndrome or that fungus, it may jump over to a pollinator, which heavens, we hope that doesn't, you know, happen. Less than 1 in a million odds that you would die from a bat-borne disease. I mean, don't touch a bat that you see. If you see a bat during the day, it's probably a sick bat, because that's not normal. So just be aware, just don't touch them, report it to someone else. Insect control, one little brown bat can eat 600 mosquitoes in 1 hour. I don't know about you, but I love that. The mosquitoes eat me up alive. Guano, full of nitrogen. In Mexico, they actually collect guano, go into bat caves and collect guano and then sell it, you know, as a fertilizer. It's full of nitrogen. And they're indicators, you know, bats are indicators of a healthy ecosystem too. And then of course our pollinators and seed dispersers. Any questions? The bat on the left is a fruit bat. Actually occurs in Africa, and he's actually got his cheek pouches filled with fruit there. The guy on the lower right hand is a flying fox. And the guy in the middle there is our California leafnose bat. That's a bat that stays active all year long, and a red bell love red bats, which wins. Lesser long-nosed bat, a photographer from Arizona Game and Fish followed me down to Alamos and took a bunch of pictures. So he took this Bruce Talbert, and see how long and narrow those wings are. And then Artibius hirsutus, the common fruit bat, down in Alamos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions before Karen goes?